we are going to talk about percents. Now, we've been doing a lot with fractions, a lot with decimals, and now we're going to throw in percents and tie it all together. First thing you need to know is, what is a percent? Okay, if I had to look that up, you could go to a great app that I found. It's called Math Terms. I'm going to write it up here just so that you know it, so you can maybe go download it in your free time. Math Terms app. It's basically a glossary, that has all kinds of math terms in it, and it's really helpful. Since you don't have a textbook anymore, it would be really helpful. So the meaning of percent, all it really means is out of 100. Out of 100. Or you can say per 100. That's what a percent is, out of 100. Like if you think of your test scores, a lot of times your grades are based out of 100%. So we say, how many points did you score out of 100? Okay, so think about a math test. The highest you can get is 100%, unless you do some extra credit, right? So let's write down some examples of percents. Obviously, the best percent you want to get is 100%. Okay, sometimes you get an 80%. Sometimes you get a 90%, sometimes 40%, that's not great. 50%, also not good, right? Those are F's. You can also have decimals in your percent, so you could have a 65.5%. That also works. Okay. Now, let's talk about what do we do with these percents once we have them. If we want to change a percent or a decimal into a percent, it's actually really easy. Okay, so when we go from a decimal to a percent, we are doing something, and you've been doing some decimal conversions in Mrs. Johnson's class, so we're going to be doing a little bit of the same thing here with decimals to percent. Okay, so when we go from a decimal to percent, we are actually multiplying the decimal by 100. Now, you're probably thinking, wait a second, you haven't taught me how to multiply decimals yet, so how do you expect me to do that? Well, it's actually, there is a shortcut, there's a trick. You know how I like my math shortcuts and my math tricks. This is a really easy trick. Notice my big or here. It says, or bump the decimal 2 places to the right. Now look at my alphabet line down here. You can see that we start at the letter D and we're going to P. D for decimal, I'm going to write that in up here. D for decimal, and P for percent. So we are going to the right on the alphabet line. That will help you to remember that when you go from a decimal to a percent, you bump the decimal 2 places to the right. Which really, what's happening when you do that is you are multiplying by 100, but it's happening behind the scenes. So, for example, 0.38, if we want to move the decimal 2 places to the right, we take it and we bump it over to right there. And then we add a percent sign. So it becomes 38%. Pretty easy, right? That's the same thing as 0.38 times 100 equals 38. Now, what about 1.45? That is actually greater than 100% because it is greater than 1. I'm going to write up here that 100% equals the whole number 1. So any number greater than 1 has a percent greater than 100%. So let's move the decimal 2 places to the right again, and we get 145%. That would be a really good score. It's the same thing as 1.45 times 100. But we don't have to do that if we use our bumping trick. Okay, how about 0.4? Now look what happens here. I have to move the decimal 2 places to the right, but wait a second, there isn't 2 places. So what do you think we have to do? If there isn't enough places to move the decimal, you get to add zeros, okay, to make 2 places. And that becomes 40%. Okay, and I can show you why. If you look at 0.4, if you said that out loud in word form, that would be 4/10. That is the same thing as the equivalent fraction 40 over 100, which is 40%. Okay, and then let's look at this big one, 0.536. Move the decimal 2 places to the right. It's going to be between the 3 and the 6 now, so our percent is 53.6%, which would be the same thing as 0.536 times 100. But we don't have to do that. Isn't this easy? You guys will find this to be the easiest thing you do all year, probably. So now, what if we have a percent and we want to change it to a decimal? How do we do that? On your second page, I want to add here, add percent sign after you move the decimal. Okay, that's pretty easy. Okay, percent to decimal is just the opposite. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. It's just the opposite. Okay, we are going to divide by 100. Divide by 100. Or, I know how much you really don't like to do division. How about I give you a shortcut? Or bump the decimal 2 places to the left. Because once again, if you look at our alphabet line, this time we're going from percent, P, to D for decimal. We are going to the left on the alphabet line, so we move our decimal 2 places to the left, which is the same thing as dividing by 100. You also need to drop the percent sign. I want to write that at the top. Before you divide by 100, you should drop the percent sign. I probably should go back to the other page. And all right, so back to where we were. Once we drop our percent sign and we're going to bump our decimal 2 places to the left, this is what happens. Okay, where is the decimal? Like if you're looking at 56%, first I'm going to drop that percent sign, so I'm going to just cross it off, and then it says to move the decimal 2 places to the left. But hey, wait a second, I don't even see a decimal. Where is it? Well, you should know that there's always a decimal at the end of every whole number, whether you see it or not. So it's right there after the 6. Let me erase that and make it look a little bit better. The decimal is right here at the end, okay? And I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. 1, 2, it ends up right in front of the 5, and it becomes 0.56. That is our decimal. Okay, 23% is going to be very much the same. Cross off the percent sign, move that decimal 2 places, and it becomes 0.23. You guys are doing awesome so far. Now we have 102%. Just like I told you before, anything over 100% is going to be a number greater than 1. So hopefully you guys will know that if we do that, we're going to take the percent sign, knock it off, put a decimal at the end of the number after the 2, and we're going to move it over 2 places to the left. 1, 2, which is the same thing as dividing by 100, and it becomes 1.02. Okay, that is greater than 100%. I'm going to show you the division problem too, just so you can see it. 102 divided by 10, or divided by 100, sorry, is going to equal 1.02. Your last one, 60%. Knock off that percent sign, put your decimal in, move it over 2 places, and it's going to be 0.6 or 0.60. Okay, and 60 divided by 100 equals 0.60. Hopefully you guys see how that works now. You're doing really well. The one thing I want to add, because it's not on here, but I want to add one more example for you because I think it might be important, is what if you have a really teeny percent? So let me get another page here. What if you had like 1%, okay, and you want to change that to a decimal? Okay, follow your same rules. Drop the percent sign. Drop the percent sign, and then you just have 1. And now let's change 1 to a decimal, okay? Where's your decimal point? At the end of the 1, so we're going to move it 2 places to the left. Now, wait a second, just like before, there is nothing there. And if I need to move it 2 places, I'm going to have to make that happen. I'm going to have to add a 0. Okay, so I'm going to move it once, I'm going to move it twice, and now I have 0.01. So 1% equals 0.01. Not 100%, but 0.01. Okay, good job, you guys. And I want you to make sure you have your notes in GoodNotes. Show those to me, and you're all done with